Today I'm going to share with you my 6th grade curriculum choices for this upcoming year. Now this is my third 6th grader that I have homeschooled. So I'm doing a little bit of repeats with some of the curriculum that I loved so much that really worked. I'm going to talk about those when those come about. But I also am going to be doing some new curriculum because I have learned a lot from homeschooling for over 13 years. Now before that I was a former public and private school teacher. Homeschooling is very different. I'll say that. I'll probably make a video or something about how different it is. But I do want to jump into the curriculum and I'm going to tell you why. First, I want to start off with math. If you have been following me, I am going to leave a little link in the description box, actually right up here, right there. I'm going to leave you a little link to a video that talks about my journey with math, what has worked, what hasn't worked. I've pretty much done, I feel like almost every math curriculum out there. It really does feel that way, but there's so much out there now, it's almost ridiculous. But Math UC is very tried and true. And we are going to be working from this Math UC book this year. Now, what I love about Math UC is that there are videos online. It's very similar to IEW. So if you use IEW instruction style, the videos are online, you watch the videos, and then you have an actual textbook that's interactive. First of all, it's a mastery approach, which basically means you're gonna learn about addition the first year, learn about subtraction the second year, and you don't move on to the next step, which math, of course, builds upon itself. You don't move on until you have actually mastered it. So this one is division. And another great thing about Math UC is it is not grade level. It is based on actual levels, and they give you, the Greek letters. So the children, the kids, the teenagers, they don't know, well, teenagers are actually doing algebra and pre-algebra and geometry and algebra 2. But the kids, the middle schoolers and the elementary school kids don't really know what grade level you're teaching at. But then again, this is mastery. And so it's not going to be following the traditional standards for grades. We're doing division. And I chose to go back and do division. Actually, we went through, for the second half, a little bit less than a second half of her 5th grade year, we went back over and reviewed multiplication. I mean, we need multiplication. We need to memorize it. We need a lot of repetition. And that's another thing I like about Math UC. It has a lot of repetition and you have manipulatives if you want to use them. Now with the multiplication with her, we did not watch the videos, but we are going to start watching the videos for division because you're going to need to. So just to kind of give you a little look of what it looks like inside, how it is set up is it basically has the lessons. So starting with lesson 1, it's going to have A, and it's front and back. Then it's going to have 1B. Then it's going to have 1C. Then it has 1D. And this is when you get into the systematic review. So you have to kind of keep eyes on that. A little secret that they actually told me at the Math UC booth this year at the Homeschool Convention, that if they find that it's easy for them, as long as they do the systematic reviews, they can skip this part. That's a little secret that they told me at the booth. But systematic reviews, so once you get here to 1D, 1E, 1F, those are all systematic reviews, and then 1G is application and enrichment, and they usually have some little puzzles like this that they have. It's like Sudoku right there. I think that's Sudoku. No, it's not. It's multiplication squares. Then after you finish the lesson, you take the test, and then it repeats to lesson 2, lesson 3. Beyond math, I'm going to move into language arts because it seems like math and language arts are like the two core subjects when it comes to academics. I really did decide to go old school this year. Now, I have been a huge fan of IEW. I'm still a huge fan of IEW. I just felt like this year I needed a little bit of a break. I'm probably gonna go back to it. Like for example, this year, when my daughter tested, her highest scores were in the writing and vocabulary area. And that's all IEW. On her percentiles were the highest in those areas. And we've done pretty much IEW for her entire homeschool career up into this point, and we didn't really supplement with anything else. We did IEW, Fix-It Grammar, and we did the spelling, phonics zoo. We played around with some other stuff here and here, but that was always her core curriculum. But this year I wanted to take a little bit of a break. I also wanted to just get more of a traditional approach. I don't know. I want to just try it, okay, and see how it works. So I decided to go with BJU. I know, like old school BJU. It's very simple. You just give it to her. She does the stuff and she turns it in, and it is very comprehensive. I am very familiar with BJU. BJU is used in private schools. BJU is used with tutoring. It's going to cover everything, and it's Christian. It is a Christian company, but like I said, very, very traditional. We have the test booklet. That's the answer sheet, and this is the actual test. But then this is so old school. I haven't even opened it up because it's the spiral bound teacher edition. This like brings me back. And I bet like if I open it up and smell it, I'm gonna like flash back to my 20s. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Do you, like if you were a teacher, you remember having the books open like flat on your desk like this and then walking around because they were so bulky? Yeah, I did this too, you know. And the red letters with the answers. Yeah, that brings me back. It is very, very traditional. It's a very traditional curriculum. But, you know, I just felt like we needed to take this approach this year because on top of that, this does have writing and grammar on it. And it does have writing in it. And you know, if I feel like her writing is not challenged enough, I'm probably going to feed in a little bit of what I'm working on with her brother right now, which is the Lost Tools of Writing, which is a great companion curriculum with IEW. But I will admit this, okay? Writing is not my strength, which y'all are laughing because I've written a book and all the things. But writing is not my strength. It is my husband's strength. And now that we're touching in on high school and the kids are getting older, my husband has expectations for them when it comes to communication, which I mean, in my brain, I think, you know, writing, rhetoric, being able to express yourself with words, that's so very important. And that is very important for my husband. So he is taking over a lot of the writing stuff. So if their writing needs work, he's gonna end up having them write papers from his Bible studies. My husband actually teaches them. They have Bible studies with my husband. And they actually do, I might as well just tell you, they do devotionals on their own. And I'm a big fan of Not Consume Ministries. It's just, it takes them 5 to 10 minutes and they just kind of, they fill it out, you know, and that's it. It's their private devotionals. And so I do that with the kids on a regular basis in the morning when they wake up. That's the goal. It's like their morning basket, so to speak. But my husband also does a family, either a devotional or a deep dive into a book, a theological book or an apologetics book, or he just does it straight from the scripture or a mix of the two. Like he's kind of building his own thing. So in addition to, my daughter is taking a class from the home instructional program. It's basically, okay, home instructional program, home education instructional program is basically going to function like a co-op, except you have teachers there and there is fees that are attached to it. So you actually pay the teachers to teach your kid. But the way that ours actually works is it's very small, it's very intimate, and everybody knows each other and everybody's teaching each other's kids. You know, it's nonprofit, but it has a co-op kind of feel to it, if that makes sense. Every home education instructional program is so incredibly different and they function differently, but that's how ours is. And she is taking a literature class, which I'm actually teaching, and I just really wanted to see the middle schoolers get good, solid literature. And so I picked out some literature that I thought was great, and she's going to be taking the class, which basically is a book study, 1 book per month. And just to share with you a little bit of the books that she is reading, I do have some of these lovely novel guides. I got a bunch of different ones. I'm going to do a video on all my reviews on the novel study guide. So make sure you do subscribe so you can see it if you're interested, because there's like a ton of these. But anyway, we are doing the bronze bow, and we are also doing the door in the wall, and we're doing Bud Not Buddy. All right, we're going to do this one in February. We're going to end the year with The Hobbit, which I love. We also, like I said, I bought a ton of these curriculum guides to kind of go with it. Oh, one I'm super excited about doing is Wonder. We're going to do Wonder. We're also doing Number the Stars. And then I'm going to do Teddy's Buttons, which is an amazing book if you have not read it, from Lamplighters. Lamplighters is just, I'm going to leave a link in the description box below, but they have books that were written from the 1800s, and they're just so good. They draw you in. Teddy's Buttons is like hands down the best one. We had a subscription with them for a really long time, so we've read through many of those, and they are all written by Christian authors, and it's really good. And I keep them. They're hard copies, so I keep them, so from years from now, we can pass them on to our kids. I actually, it's hard because the kids have read them and gotten them a little bit dirty, but they can still hopefully keep them for years to come and pull them out, in like 2040 or something like that. Hopefully they'll appreciate, the fact there's so many things. I'm just going to move on to the next thing. I'm going to talk a little bit about science next. Now, I don't have the book with me right now because Apologia just, they have redone them all. Now, I do teach science in our homeschool home education program, and I've been doing it for 13 years, like I mentioned before. Of course, my daughter's going to be taking the class, and we are going to be doing the Zoology 1 and part of the Zoology 3. And the way that I broke it up, I did a zoology class last semester, and she was not a part of it, actually, now that I think about it. But she was in my anatomy class and nutrition class, but she's going to be in my second part of zoology. And we are breaking it up. Now, okay, there's so much. Apology is amazing, first of all, and I can get really deep into Apologia because I've been using Apologia for 13 years. And I've been doing the Exploring Creation, the first edition, and I believe now it's the second edition that's coming out. And there's such a big difference. I'm going to do a video where I'm going to share the difference between the new one and the old one. I'm going to show you how much of a difference there is, because it is so worth it to get the newer edition. It's not, in my opinion, worth it to get the old one when you have such a beautiful curriculum. And in my opinion, it's pretty affordable for a science curriculum. So anyway, we're using Apologia. I have tried a lot of different science curriculums. If you're curious about me just kind of going through all of them, I have a video where I literally just go through a bunch of science curriculum, homeschool curriculum that I've used. It's up here, so you can check it out or get to it at the end of the video. I'll probably put another box at the end where you can click on it at the end of the video. So we're doing Zoology 1. And then we're going to do half of Zoology 3. So I broke it up where it's going to be the insects, birds, and worms, and snakes and reptiles and amphibians. That's what I'm doing next year. This last year, what I did was marine animals and land animals that were mammals. Basically is what I did, because marine doing zoology too, actually, for Apologia, it takes a while to go through to do a good job. And it's so much fun. I have to admit that when I use Apologia, those are the most fun classes I have when it comes to teaching. First of all, it's done, the book actually reads, it's a living book. A lot of parents will do is, for the younger kids, will sit down with their younger kids and read it, and you're sitting with your child and the author. And it's almost like it's story time. It's a living book. It's so good the way that it's written. And then there are so many hands-on activities that you can do with very simple items around your house. And the journal itself is so incredibly comprehensive and beautiful. She has taken my zoology class and literature class at the Homeschool Co-op. And while I'm on the Homeschool Co-op, just to mention, because she's going to be there all day Tuesday, and then she's going to be there for 3 hours on Thursday. And those 3 hours on Thursday is basically physical education. And then she's doing choir, which actually meets twice a week. And then she does private lessons for cello, and we are trying to get her into some piano lessons. She's done piano before. Now, she really loves, she's a musician, just straight up, she's a musician. And I know that I want to feed her that opportunity as much as I can right now. She does do gymnastics once a week, but like I said, her strength is being a musician. I do, one of the things she actually really wants to learn is music production, which has to do with getting software equipment and learning how to compose. I'm really hoping she gets this one specific piano teacher is what I'm really, really hoping that she gets. I'm sure it will soon. But meanwhile, she's going to be in choir and she's going to be keep doing cello, which I'm really excited because with the cello, I'm hoping that next year she can compete in the Sacred Music Festival, which is something that Florida actually does. If you have not heard about that, it's part of the FPEA and they hold it in May, which is the largest homeschool convention in the nation and by default in the world. And even if you don't have a child in Florida, you could look into that. I'm pretty sure that you can look into that and see if you can, I'm pretty sure, check it out. Maybe I'll check it out and leave some information down below. But it's basically like if you were in public school or private school and you did something called solo and ensemble, where you go and you perform in front of a panel of judges and they give you feedback, that's basically what it is. And Andrew Pudawa is usually involved with our Sacred Music Festival, whether he is, walking around and doing meet and greets and talking and encourage these students. And sometimes he'll do lots of talks to encourage these students. I mean, he's very much involved with our music festival, but yeah, I love it. And I'm hoping she does do cello for that. Moving on from science, I want to jump into history. So she is actually working through this taking name fill in the blank continent for Jesus. Now, she, in her earlier elementary career, we did spend a lot of time doing some American history and we spent some time doing some geography. And I feel like we really got that down. And this is the curriculum that's put out by Generations. They do mention it by levels. So they have level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it goes up to 6. And we actually started going through these because, well, first of all, the way they are formatted is that you start, I don't remember what the first one was off the top of my head. I'll just write it down below on the screen. But then you have Taking Jesus for the Middle East. I feel like is the first one where it focuses in on a location. And so you learn about the history of the Middle East, but it is very Christian worldview, faith-based. Now there is a lot of history, a lot of church history that is incorporated. And for me, for someone who really much appreciates the Jewish history, even beyond Acts and Paul and Peter and scripture, looking at how the Messianic Jewish community flourished. But church history is also very important. And I do remember when we read through Taking the Middle East for Jesus, there is some stuff in there about the Middle East and the Muslims, and you learn about the wars. And, that one I believe was level 2 is what it was. It is written at an easier level that could be good for, a second or third grader. But we did it when she was in 5th grade. And it was very easy to just kind of go through. She asked me questions. She went through it pretty quickly because it was a level 2. And so she jumped into level 3, which is what she's working on right now. And that's Taking Jesus for South America. And once again, it's pretty easy. She can actually read one full chapter of that in one sitting and do the entire workbook chapter with that. So that's level 3. And so she's going to go through that pretty fast. And so next she is going to move into level 4, which I guess you could say corresponds with 4th grade. But like I said, we're going to go through it pretty quickly. This is the workbook. And this is kind of what it looks like right here. It's so funny because when I first got it, I didn't get the workbooks. And then I didn't realize it had workbooks. And I was like, ooh, I wish it had there's workbooks. Okay. And I learned that. And it's so funny in the comment section, you guys were like, there's workbooks. I think you forgot to get those. And I was like, oh. Anyhow, this is going to be the next level that she's moving into, which is Taking Asia for Jesus. And then this is the workbook. And the first thing I want to say about this is pictures are absolutely, absolutely beautiful. But if you look inside, oh my gosh, I have to show you that picture. I just passed it. What? I really want to walk on the Great Wall of China. If you look in the table of contents, we're hitting on India. We're talking about China. We're talking about Japan. We're talking about the gospel when it actually reaches India. Going through Hudson Taylor, some of these missionaries, John Payton, William Carey, Amy Carmichael, which by the way, she's reading the Amy Carmichael book right now. That's kind of funny. So you can see it is a lot about the missionaries and the work that they did, mixed in, blended in with a little bit of the historical stuff. So the photos are one thing that I love. I love the Christian perspective with the missionaries and some of the church history. I also like that there's a blend of the history involved with it. Another thing that I really like about it is that through the levels, you are actually doing all of the world. There's so many times, this is just my experience, that when you're studying history in general, you focus in on America and you spend a lot of time there. And then you go, I'm going to learn about the rest of the world. And so you do world history. And then world history basically means Europe and maybe some of the other stuff. Like, that's what I see just across the board. There's so much good history, so many good stories just across the world to learn about. And I do appreciate the fact that they do that. Of course, she's probably going to finish this, and then we're going to definitely move on to level 5, which is taking Africa for Jesus. This one has Egypt, North African Christianity, Augustine, then we've got the rise of Islam, the African slave trade, exploration and colonization of Africa, and then we have Alexander McKay, and then some other missionaries as well. So once again, pictures are absolutely just, gorgeous. There you go. Oh, in the workbooks, I did want to show you this. And I think the next video that I'm going to make for you guys, I'm going to do kind of more of a flip through these generations courses. So this one, in the worksheets, they tell you what you need to read. They tell you which chapter you're on. They have Bible verses that you read and apply. That's one thing I really like about it, is how they take scripture and apply it to what you're actually learning in the book. Of course, they have some maps in here. It covers pretty much everything. And then when you get to a certain point, they have some unit projects that you can do, that they can do. So, and of course with the unit projects, this one, by the way, I showed you was an essay. Look at that. We're getting some writing in there. Look at this. We've got maps in the back. This is, I'm thinking this might actually be it for a full year, one of these levels. And we'll continue, I think, through middle school, going through the levels, because it does seem like these are pretty challenging. So yeah, that's perfect, because we'll start level 4, like I said, this one at the beginning of the year, probably, since she's almost done with level 3. And then for 7th grade, we'll probably do this. And for 6th grade, we'll probably do this one as well. And then she'll be in high school, and then we can start in on that American history or whatever we're going to do then. So yeah. All right, the last thing that I want to mention, one thing that I have learned in the last couple weeks, one thing I've missed from year to year, is that family time together doing some kind of study. I've fallen in love with campfire curriculums. And so this is the one that we are working on currently right now. I have a video where I talk about it. Gonna stick it up there. And it brings me back to the days when my kids were young and we used to sit around and do history studies. We did gather around a few times. We did projects together. And for some reason in my mind, I thought that when my kids hit middle and high school, that's done. It was just so beautiful how this landed in my lap. It was definitely God. We have been able to sit down and do this together, take our time with it, not feel rushed to get it through. So for example, it takes about a week to do a lesson. And so last week we did a lesson during the summer. And this week we started on lesson 2, but we didn't really get too far past it because VBS happens. And so we're kind of taking a break. If we do another lesson, great. But I think that's how it's going to be through the year, that when we get a chance to sit down and do it, we're going to work through it as a family. And my goal is to definitely finish this by December. And then I want to do financial literacy. And I'm doing that one because my kids don't know how to save money. It's such a thing, right? Also, my high schooler, he needs economics. We were going to do generations for my high schooler, but I really think we're switching that already. Not because I don't like the generations economic course, but because I really, really like campfire curriculums. a lot. And I think we would probably learn more and benefit more from that, from the financial literacy with campfire curriculums if I do it that way. That's what we're doing for 6th grade. And I know this was a super long video, and thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, my name's Ailani. Subscribe to this channel. Leave me some comments down below if you've used any of this, any success you had. I'm going to put 2 boxes right here. Of course, like I promised, the science curriculum is right there so you can check it out. And then I'm also going to stick a playlist of middle school stuff because I'm assuming that you've got a middle schooler on your hands, and this is some great resource. So thank you guys, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye.